The views expressed are not necessarily those of KSCJ and Powell Broadcasting Company. This program is not intended to replace the advice of doctors or other clinical providers. Consult with your practitioner to ensure the proper course of action for you.
Welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well on AM 1360, FM 94.9 KSCJ. This program is dedicated to your mental health wellness and brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency. Here's your host, Art Silva.
Good morning, Siouxland, and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well. This show is dedicated to your mental wellness. We hope to educate and help you navigate your path to wellness. We will share information on various mental health topics as well as where to go for help. I'm Art Silva, and our show is brought to you by Family Services, a United Way partner agency serving the Siouxland community. Joining me today are my guests from Growing Community Connections, Joanne Gieselman and Mandy Engelcarty. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Glad to have you here, and welcome to When Things Aren't Going Well, and thank you for joining us today. Joanne, you got a wonderful organization over there that you've grown, and so could you tell us about Growing Community Connections and what you do and how you serve the community?
Oh, I would absolutely love to do that. And again, thank you for the honor of being here and being able to share with you and all the wonderful work you do. We just appreciate it.
Thank you.
GCC is a collaboration of partners serving together, and I wish I could list them all. And GCC really is the tool that helps connect and inform our partners in our community. But the beautiful work that happens in our community is the work of our partners. And we just try to highlight and support it because we recognize that all of us together can make things better for the children and families in our community. When we collaborate, it produces new insights and solutions because as human beings with different perspectives, when we come together, we can come up with even better solutions than we might think of on our own. Our partners include businesses, organizations, schools, churches, cities, health agencies, both medical and mental health, childcare, youth centers, law enforcement, and so many more. Over 700 partners.
Well, we've dedicated 2023 to addressing the stress and issues facing Siouxland families, and your organization is a tremendous resource for those families. You certainly have a village out there working with you. So would you kind of go over some of the core issues you think that are facing our community?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that is just connection for our community and people knowing where to go to find those resources. So one of the things that we have is a website that you can go to for growingcommunityconnections.com. And at that website, we have a resource guide. And you can get on there and find many of the resources in our community. We also on there have a job board. So if you're looking for work, that's a great place to go and find work. It's just a great way to connect in one place.
Mandy, what is your role working with Growing Community Connections? I know your other role with Girls Inc., and you've been really a great supporter in the community and helpful for the girls in such a great organization. So your connection with Growing Community Connections?
Well, first of all, thank you for your comments about Girls Inc. We're very proud of the work we do, but I am a proud board member of Growing Community Connections, a new board member, so I'm learning. But it's delightful to be part of this group because it truly is about the connections within the community that will move the needle, Art. So in other words, just this week, for example, we had Thriving Families, Safer Children, and that is a committee. It's a group that is a sort of a subgroup of Growing Community Connections. And the topic was about childcare this week because we were talking about what are those stressors that families face. Well, if you're a family facing, for example, shift work, finding childcare can be immensely challenging. And the neat thing and amazing thing about Joanne's group and our group in Growing Community Connections and these subgroups is that you have the true experts, the people who are facing this every day, who are dealing with this, along with advocates, planners, those people in more of the think tank. So you've got the real and the theoretical folks look out there and say, hey, here's what's really working. Can we model ourselves on that? Or what can we create? And those people who are working in the field say, great, here's the obstacles, here are the challenges, here's how much it's going to cost. Let's get together and let's make this happen for families.
Mandy, thank you for coming because board members are so important. I mean, it's active board members they come with solutions, they want to help, they bring resources to the table, but they're tied to the product. They want this to get better. And that is the absolute root of what we need. people that care, that want to get involved, that want to make a difference. And so thank you for coming as a board member. We have 4 boards over at Boys and Girls Home, and they are invaluable.
Totally.
You get a chance to bounce things off of them. Like you said, here's the theory. Now, how can you combine this with the reality and make it fit for us? And they give you great thoughts. They keep you on your toes. An active board just can't be replaced, I'll tell you.
100% agree with you, Art. It is so critical for everyone in the community to be aware of what those who are struggling are facing. You're part of that. Your board is part of that. I think although we all need fundraising and we need the deep pockets, the connectors in the world, those people on our board that connect us with resources and answers and experts are invaluable.
Well, out there, anybody that's listening, if you'd like to get on a board, certainly call an organization. We're always looking for active people that want to come in and learn something. You're going to learn a lot when you sit on a board and be really in touch with your community. So Girls Inc., Growing Community Connections, or Boys and Girls Home, give us a call if you have any interest in joining a board. I'm Art Silva, along with my guests from Growing Community Connections, Joanne Gieselman and Mary Engelcardi, and you're listening to When Things Aren't Going Well. Let's continue our discussion on stress affecting Siouxland families. Joanne, let me ask you, what do you feel are some of your most requested services?
Well, I think is just finding some of those resources in the community. So one of the things I was thinking about as you were talking is we have electronic signs around town. There's 17 of them that actually run the services for families where they can find them. It started when COVID hit us, and we had families who didn't have computers or ways to find that information. So those signs are all over town telling people where you can get your COVID shots, where you can find food pantries, where you can find information.
Randy, you mentioned earlier shift work, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people are aware of, that lifestyle and what it requires. When I was way back in the days when I was in the car business, I wanted to run all-night movies on TV. This is going back to the 2000 because there were a lot of people up at night, and realized that. So when you look at it from who has the children, what am I going to do, that is really, you got me thinking about it because I hadn't thought about that.
Absolutely.
So things like that really, and it starts with the employment, which starts with the dollars, which starts with the stress, and wow.
And it's everything from those in the care industry who work in hospitals and go all night long, our medical folks who have been so stressed these past few years and so worked to the bone, to those who are working on the line at a meat packing plant, or those even in mail industries and delivery industries where it's 24/7 and it is go, go, go. That level of stress. And then the difficulty with many people struggle with transportation. I know that's a frequent conversation, Joanne, as we're talking about what are the topics that come up often.
And our community planning group actually is working on transportation right now. One of the issues that has come up is people being able to get medical help but don't have the funds to get there, transportation to get there. So we're having a big meeting coming up next week to talk about how we can support families in transportation getting there when they don't have the funds. And what happens is they call it ambulance, and that's a really expensive method. So there's just so many great conversations going on in the communities.
I know your website and on your registry, when people look for a type of medical help, that's important. How many people can I afford it? It's a budgetary issue. And that just spirals downhill. So it starts with, here's where you can go to find some help. You're not alone out there. You want one thing, anybody listening, you're not alone. And don't act as if you are alone. You have people here to help, and Growing Community Connections is a tremendous resource. So if you go on Community Connections and it could be translation, it could be medical, it could be transportation, as you talked about, you'll find some help there. Joanne, let me ask you, this is something that is through the whole region, food challenges. Now, are you seeing a lot of that?
Yes, we still have all the big lines and then the great need for food. We have a lot of people around the community, a lot of partners that are helping to support that. But, most of them are a weekly situation, and families, especially larger families, making those dollars stretch from 1 week till the next is always a challenge for families. And there are a lot of great places that are reaching out and doing their best to support that.
And again, more than ever with the inflation and costs going up for any family out there right now, it's a particular strain on those who were already vulnerable and suffering. So, folks, if you hear of somebody that might need some help, refer them to Growing Community Connections. Take a look at what they're offering out there and see where you can go to get some help with what problem is affecting your family right now. This is a year for families. There is no right, there is no wrong, there is no judgment. It's a matter of getting help. And we have a great village here in Sioux City, and we're here to help. We're coming up on our break, so continue your morning chill. We'll be right back with more of When Things Aren't Going Well, right here on 1360 AM, 94.9 FM, KSCJ.
Let's face it, that happens to all of us. However, the pandemic has compounded all of our lives and activities. Even the simplest tasks seem harder. Hi, I'm Brenda Geisinger, the Chief Operating Officer at the Boys and Girls Home and Family Services. Family Services is a United Way partner agency serving children and families of our community, and we're here to help. If you'd like to learn more about Family Services, please contact us via email, website, Facebook, or phone Mary Pickens. At Family Services, we change lives.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well on KSCJ. Here's Art Silva.
Welcome back to When Things Aren't Going Well. I'm Art Silva, along with Joanne Gieselman and Mandy Engelcarty, and we are discussing stress in Siouxland families and where you can go for help. And the first stop you should be is at Growing Community Connections. It's like a one-stop shop. You can find go for a topic, whatever you can find there. And if you don't find it there, give them a call or go on the website and ask. There's nothing here. We're here to help, and the more you use it, the more effective this program is. So, Joanne, let me go back to you and ask you. We talked about the food challenges, and Mandy, you can kick in on this too because I know you deal with this. But what about unsafe situations for children? Do you run across that a lot in your work, and what do you do? What can people do in that situation?
Absolutely. And I'm so glad you asked, Art, because as we discussed before this program started, there's a new report out from the CDC about youth risk behavior and the impact on girls in particular, and the increase in violence across the board, but particularly toward girls. It starts with education, just like everything. And, this is an age-appropriate conversation, obviously, but you can start it at the youngest ages, just talking about, okay, let's look both ways when we cross the street. Let's about talking to strangers and who is an askable adult, who is a safe adult. And then it becomes more sophisticated as you go on. And, the other thing about it, this can be an uncomfortable or at least a little bit of a scary conversation with parents because you don't want to go too far over the side and make them, nervous all the time. But remember that what you are doing, especially when you talk to a girl, is you're giving her a skill. You're giving her a something that she can take with her. And part of the reason I believe that so many girls right now are struggling with self-esteem is that the messages they are receiving through the media are all about how they look. And we at Girls Inc. and throughout the community and those who are involved in helping youth and in youth services know that it's about who you are and what you can do. And when you give your child those skills and those words of wisdom, don't they ring in your head? My grandmother's words of advice, my mother's, my father's, they ring in my head and they've helped me throughout my life to hang in there and that I can do this, I've got this. And so, we all need to work on being kinder to one another. Meanness seems to be at an all-time high right now, and I don't know the root of that, but there's a way out, and that is to think about others and think about being kind to others. But it is also to be preventive and to give children skills that they need to get through their day and reassurance.
One thing we see at Boys and Girls Home is with our children, they're just looking for people who they can trust in. I think parenting now becomes more of a coaching job because, Mandy, you mentioned the CDC survey, and when they conducted that survey, they did it on the premise that a lot of parents wouldn't be told because kids don't tell their parents, and that's why you have to coach more and coax it out of them. Schedule a time every day where you have a one-on-one with your child and say, so what's going on? What's happening? And be a good listener. Don't try to fix it all. Be a good listener. Be a fan of your kid and get out there and really help them. It is tough time for children. We're seeing it at the kindergarten, first grade, second, third grade levels. It's unprecedented. So these children are an investment, in our society. It's not a light switch where you turn it on and it's fixed. It shows up down the road, and it can be helped, but we have to just be, first of all, aware of it, and then be, what do we want to do about it? And I love your organizations because you take it on firsthand. You don't tiptoe around it. This is what it is, and this is what we're going to do to fix it. And Girls Inc. has been fantastic. Such a compliment working with Growing Community Connections because, Joanne, you were able to pull in everybody. And that's not hard to do because in nonprofits, we're not in competition with each other. We're looking, how can we, with limited resources in the community, how can we help support each other? That's where you get your best bang for your buck. And the ability to work together. You've done a great job, Joanne, on pulling people together.
And you said it so beautifully. This community really collaborates in such a beautiful way. I've been to other places who say, how does that happen? And it's really the hearts in this community. They care about the families and the children first. And they're the ones that are out there reaching and doing that. And just connecting us together makes us even stronger and better and brings in diverse ideas. It's just been a wonderful situation here working with everyone.
Well, one thing that we has been here, and it's still a demon in our community, is substance abuse.
Yes.
And I think that's another thing. When parents start to notice a difference in behavior, really you have to get in there and ask more questions. Look at the company they keep. Hold them accountable to you. Drug use out there is just by the time you hear about it, it's somebody's been hurt, and who knows what other damage is done. So, Joanne, do you have a resource for drug and substance abuse?
Absolutely, many resources, but one of the big ones is I have the chance to work with the Healthy Siouxland Initiative. So they work with the hospitals and the Siouxland District Health and Siouxland Community Health. They all work together and put together an assessment of the community and then develop focus groups. And one of those focus groups is around substance abuse. So the information is coming out. Another place is Siouxland Cares. They meet together every month and talk about what's going on. We've had conversations around the opioids and those kind of things, but getting the information out, as you said, Mandy, education is such a big piece of this, and letting families know what's going on in the community, what is the most preferred drug at the time, what symptoms do they need to watch for, how do you communicate with your kids, all those beautiful things that really bring families in and tie communities together around, like you said, a very awful subject.
Well, we know we live in a great community, and we take action. It's an actionable community. We don't just sit back and watch and say, oh, that's too bad. Let's do something about it. One of the toughest things right now that we're seeing is looking at the role of grandparents and the extended family. Mandy, are you involved in that at Girls Inc.?
Absolutely. We see many grandparents taking on the child care role, and it often happens because of substance abuse or involvement in the justice system. If folks are incarcerated in the family, I mean, the great side is the upside of that is that when children are able to stay with a family member, obviously, that's preferable than to them going into a stranger's home. And nothing against foster. We love foster care and are grateful to those who do that. But if a child can maintain some level of normalcy in their day, that's really, really helpful. But it's a struggle for people because you're at a point in your life where you did not think that this was going to be the focus of your world. You've raised your children, you're moving on, and the supports are out there. There are support groups that help grandparents. There are tools and lots of resources that folks can connect with in the community, including just somebody to talk to, including respite care, all of those kinds of things. And Growing Community Connections is kind of the keeper of that information as it goes in the community. You can look on their website and look at that resource list and find that information.
And let me ask you, Joanne, how did you build this great coalition you have there?
And again, I go back to all the wonderful partners because really we started with 6 people around a table and grew to 700. But it grew because we began to recognize more and more that need for collaboration. It was kind of like if you're going up a hill, you need each other to kind of push each other up and get up that hill. And funds, we began to realize if we braided our funds, we had more funds. Like you had mentioned earlier, just the power to use our funds in bigger and better ways. And really, we also began to realize that funders were saying, hey, we want our dollars stretched. So if we work together, so it was just beginning to look at how we could work together. And it's just been amazing when we're having conversations, somebody will say, well, hey, I could help you with that, or we already do that. Let us do that for you. And people just began to build on what was happening.
I agree with that, but Joanne, you need to take some credit yourself. Don't you think Joanne is a gifted
I had
convener?
The pleasure of knowing Joanne at the Silva Family Center, and she just took this to a whole new level.
Absolutely.
And we are so lucky. I'm not aware of this in other communities. I'm sure there's things that exist, but they don't have the driver behind it like Joanne. So that and the confidence people have that joining your system, that you're going to follow up, you're going to get the message out, that you are consistent. And Joanne, this hats off to you and what you do. Before we leave, though, could you tell us how to get to your website?
Yes, so we are at growingcommunityconnections.com, real easy to find. And when you do that, you can also then access the Facebook page. We have monthly meetings that you could watch on the Facebook page if you want to see them, or you just send me an email and I would be happy to get you connected into those meetings. Love to have anyone in the community a part of what we do. The biggest win for Growing Community Connections is when somebody comes to any one of our partners and said, I need a resource, and that partner knows where to take them, how to get them to that resource and support them. We have done things like backpacks for kids going back to school. We've got mental health for people. We've been able to just really reach out to those who are new to our community and need legal services. There is so much going on in our community. Just reach out. We would absolutely love to be able to serve with you.
Well, that's the best invite you're going to get, folks, and I'll tell you, Joanne, thank you so much for sharing with us today. GrowingCommunityConnections.com, folks. Go take a look. You may find something there that you didn't even know you needed. So it's a fantastic site. Mandy, thank you very much for coming in today and sharing with us on Girls Inc. And I feel really good because I feel like I'm in this community village here right now. So
strong, smart, and bold.
There you go. Well, we're coming up on the end of our show this week. We want to leave you with a little humor for your mental wellness. So here we go. The teacher asked little Johnny, George Washington not only chopped down his father's cherry tree, but he also admitted to doing it. Now, do you know why his father didn't punish him? Little Johnny replied, because he still had the axe in his hand. Okay, here we go. That's our joke for the week. We hope you find some humor in it, and it's another dad joke for you, and we know how those go. So with that, we want to thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Mandy, and also thanks to our listening audience. We want to give a shout-out to Lloyd Ney, and also Travis Morgan of the Sioux City Musketeers for their continuing the 25-year partnership for Face Off for Charity. And also shout out to Kathy Ellison and Country Celebrations for providing the ambiance and special attention to detail to help make our 25th celebration of Face Off for Charity a huge success. If you're looking for a place to host an event, give Kathy a call at Country Celebrations. You won't regret it. Also, let's not forget Sneaky's world-famous chicken. You know they know how to do it right. Don't you feel like some chicken tonight? We'll be back next Saturday morning at 7 a.m. right here at 1360 AM, 94.9 FM, KSCJ, when our guest will be Sergeant Tom Gill of the Sioux City Police Department. Don't forget to do your homework this week and go out and have a good laugh. It's good for the soul. May the sun shine on you.
Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
For more information on the services provided by Boys and Girls Home and Family Services, see them online at boysandgirlshomeiowa.org. Or you can call 712-293-4700 to get more information about family services, residential treatment, the Opportunity School, the Siouxland Family Center, and more. At Boys and Girls Home and Family Services, we change lives. We change lives. We change lives. We